For great ideas and practical tools you can start using tomorrow to grow your business and separate you from the competition, you've come to the right place. If you're into B2B marketing and sales, then welcome to the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast. With over 60 and counting total years in the trenches of businesses small and large, they have a plethora of knowledge and experience that generate you more leads, capture more clients, ring up more sales. Well, doggone it, just make you more money. How about that? Always thought-provoking, yet dubiously entertaining. Please welcome to their respective microphones across 3 time zones, your co-ringmasters, the Dave Loomis, and not the rock star, Steve Miller.
Hey everybody, this is Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's dad, marketing gunslinger, not the rock star. And I am not joined by the David Loomis, the David Mayo Loomis today. And in fact, this is like the second time in a row that one of us is gone. Last week I was gone because I had a doctor's appointment, and or the last time, last week. And my smoking hot wife, Lynn Kruger Miller, is back again this week. Last week she, knocked it out of the park with Mr. Voice, and I don't even know what you guys talked about last week. I have to go, but I have to guess. I think I have to.
Well, yeah, you got to watch that episode because we talked about getting an uncopyable advantage, which is extremely important.
And that's kind of, you and I. Now I started it. I started the uncopyable movement, several years ago when I actually started teaching the uncopyable method or mindset many years ago, and then finally got smart enough to write the darn book, right? And this one I grabbed real quick. It doesn't have, we have like a sticker that we put in here that shows that it was an Amazon #1 bestseller and still sells really well.
Yes.
Just got to
and it's a fabulous book, objectively speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. No bias or anything.
Yeah, I have no ties to the success of that book.
And in the book, one of the chapters, one of the strategies that I talk about is stealing genius, which is a technique of generating innovative ideas. And you can use it basically in anything, but I primarily focus on helping companies with marketing and branding. And we talk about that in there. And then to do another follow-up in the uncopyable mindset, my smoking hot wife, Kay, do you happen to have a copy of your new book?
I happen to have one right here.
Tell us, what is it called? And tell us what it's
called Uncopyable Sales Secrets. So this is the uncopyable philosophy, which is brilliant. Like you said, your book became a #1 bestseller.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
What's that?
It was a surprise. Remember? See, we did not.
Oh my gosh!
System. There are so many authors out. I hate to say it. We know who you are, and you could tell, by how the books are being released and stuff like that. They're gaming the system to try to push the sales up for a short period of time. Mine didn't even go to bestseller status for several months.
Right, and
it was just. In fact, we were lucky that we happened to look one day. I don't remember if it was you or me.
I do remember who it was. It was me.
Was it you?
Yes, of course. I'm going to take the credit for that.
I have no issue with that.
It happened organically, as they say. Organic. So we do believe in organic. We're very organic.
Yeah. So
and I happened to look on a Sunday. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's right. I do remember it was a Sunday. We're like, what the heck? How do you go to #1 on a Sunday? But there it was, big bestseller, #1 bestseller, right across the top of the book. And we got very excited and got drunk and disorderly. And there are two sports bars that we are no longer allowed to go in anymore. So,
Only
which is
two?
fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. One of them actually closed, I think, because we don't go there
Mm.
anymore.
Right.
So, and you came out with yours, and it is just kicking ass right now. And one of the things we want to talk about, one of the things in there that is a very, very big part of the uncopyable philosophy and developing the uncopyable mindset that I talked about again for years, wrote about it in the first book. We again, both of us wrote about it in our other books, right? Because
Our new
it's so
books,
important.
yeah.
Our new books, right? Because it's so important. It has made a major impact on our clients, on the way they think, the way they approach their marketing, the way they develop their marketing, and even their branding. And that is what we call hunting moose.
And you can tell how important it is because right behind me is a new, print that I bought of a moose to help everyone I talk to on Zoom remember it's all about the moose.
It's all about the moose. So, okay. So do you want to explain what we mean by hunting moose? Why don't you go for it first? Since
I will go for it, and you can see if you can possibly improve on what I say. I doubt it.
But go right ahead. What does hunting moose mean? What are we trying to say to people?
The analogy is imagine that you are a moose hunter. Of course, that would not be me because as I like to joke, my favorite thing to hunt is shoes. Deals on shoes. But if there are people that hunt animals, there are people that hunt moose. Now, if you were intent on hunting moose and you went out to the forest and you just started, seeing bears and rabbits and deers and raccoons.
Deers.
Deers. Did I say deers?
Deers.
Deer. Okay.
I like that. Deers.
You would just be like, in sales, they call it spray and pray. You would not be focused on what you really want to accomplish. So there's a story. It's in both of our latest books. So you need to get the book to hear the background of the story. But Steve was asked the question, if you were going to hunt moose, where would you go? Would you go to Arizona? No, you would go up north. You'd go to Canada or, the northern United States. What would you do to attract the moose? How would you bait the moose? How would you, what language would you use to get their attention? So it's all about being really focused on your very best target. And in the case of sales, the person who is going to buy the most, be the best to work with, and just be a big win-win for everybody. So how did I do?
When you say, that was great. When you say spray and pray, what does that mean? That's a sales talk. That's sales talk.
Yes, I've been hearing that phrase a lot lately of what not to do. This is what you don't do. And, a lot of people, a lot of companies, business salespeople fall into the trap. Everyone needs my product. Everybody can use this. So you just blast your message out to everyone. You just, cold call on everybody. And then you just pray that that you're going to make a sale instead of putting more thought into it, being strategic. The moose is all about being strategic. Mm-hmm. And, I have people listening might not know, but I have a mastermind group with some of our clients, and a lot of us float ideas to the group. And they might be saying, I want to do this campaign or do this or that. And the first question that will come up is, well, who is your moose?
Right.
So when you're in sales, always start with, okay, who is your ideal prospect? And don't waste your time on everybody else.
And one of the things about it is you become a moose expert. You become a moose specialist. Like Kay says, when you go into a forest, so first of all, we're going to go find a forest where we think the moose are and that we think are in sufficient quantity. All right. And even better is they're big fat moose, right? And
Hungry moose.
Hungry moose. They're hungry moose, and hungry moose. And that's a joke that probably nobody's going to get. And and so when you go into the forest, you're seeing all these other animals, right? You're just ignoring them. You're just ignoring. You are just going after the moose. Now, why is this important, and why should we do this? I'm going to start this part with by saying that, see, it's if I were to say, oh, just go into the forest and just start shooting everything you can find, and I mean, assuming you're using a gun or something, but your objective is to hopefully find some moose, hopefully get some moose. But you start, you just go in and you just start finding, like you say, rabbit and deers and, all those other things. And you start shooting, but those are not what you're looking for. Right. So, and so here's the thing is that when you are doing your marketing, when you are thinking about the messaging, and messaging is the bait, that's the bait that attracts people to you. All right. And when you are doing that, if you are using the language of your moose and you are offering them something that is based on something that they want. See, a hungry moose is a moose who has a problem. He's hungry. And our moose, as we look at them as prospects and potential customers, we are going to be offering that. We're not selling products. And let's just understand this, and let me take a little pivot here. God, I hate the word pivot.
Oh, why did you say pivot? You hate that word, pivot.
That word.
We're pirouetting.
I'm going to take a pirouette. Okay, that's the word we use, pirouette. And I'm going to take a slight pirouette, and I'm going to, and I don't even remember what I was going to talk about now. But anyway, or what I was going to say, but
the marketing message.
Oh
boy, we got off track there.
It'll come to me. So, anyway, so when we are trying to understand, we're selling. We are not selling a product.
Not selling a product.
When I ask people what business they're in, sometimes the common answer I get is, well, we manufacture widgets. That's what we do. Okay. Or we sell this service. That's what we do. And I have to educate them on, no, you're not. That is not the business that you are in. That is the deliverable. But the business that you are in is the business of selling and of marketing and selling a widget. That's the business that you are in. Because if you don't market and sell it, you can produce all you want to produce, right? But you're going to have a big warehouse full of stuff,
right?
So you are in the business of marketing and selling a product or a service. So the better you can understand your moose, the more you understand the solution that you are delivering to them, because what they are looking for is some kind of a solution. Is it a solution to a problem, a painful situation? Is it a solution to some kind of goal that they have? Out there, what you're going to do is sell that solution. And so the better you can understand them, even to the point of the language that you speak. Because, and if you think about it, like in the legal world, we've all heard the term legalese. Well, that is the language of attorneys, right? And so if I'm going to be selling to attorneys, I better be able to speak the language of attorneys and not the language of chefs, all right? Or the language of electricians or the language of hotel people. See, they all have their own language. And the more you can speak to people in their language, it's just like going to a foreign country, right? And if you go to Italy and you start speaking Italian, they go, wow.
But what about if you accidentally speak Spanish like I did when we were in Italy?
That's true.
I got a little confused.
Yeah, that's true. We had a
and that's interesting.
He started speaking Spanish to her. So,
yep.
in Italy.
And, Dave and I talked about, not only understanding the language of the moose, but, understanding their problem to the point where last week, Dave and I talked about Leslie, and you remember the story of Leslie,
Yes.
who was selling IT service. But the reason that the people bought was that she offered white glove service. So she's delivering the solution in a way that they won't have to worry about it. She didn't get into all the little details about, whatever the specifics might be in that case. She just said, relax. I understand you. I will give you white glove service. You won't have to worry about a thing. And the customer admitted, we bought Leslie. We bought the salesperson because of what she did for the customer.
Well, Leslie,
so she understood her moose.
She understood her moose. She talked to them. She was able to calm their fears. Let's understand this. When you are trying to get somebody to buy from you, well, the first thing that we have to recognize is, are they changing vendors? Right? Are they already buying from somebody else? And you're trying to get them to buy from you? Well, you know what? They kind of have to be a little bit dissatisfied with their current vendor. Or if you're trying to talk them into a new type of solution to something that maybe they're not using anything like it right now, they have to be a little bit dissatisfied, right? And so what Leslie was doing was she made it clear to them, look, I get it. I understand you. All right. And she was able to convince them that she understood them. And then she said, I am going to take care of your problem. I'm the one who's going to provide that solution for you so that you will be able to sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to wake up in the morning and the first thing on your head is, oh my gosh, how do I take care of this situation? Right. So that is this whole thing. And the other thing about going out and being very, very focused on your moose, I often ask new clients, what is your closing percentage? Most people can't answer that question, which is dumb. You really should know what your closing percentage is. And your closing percentage is like, if I hand you 10 prospects, how many prospects are you going to turn into customers? Now, the national average, for the most part, primarily in the B2B community, which is the main community that we work with, the national average is something along the lines of 5 to 10% closing rate. So, if I hand them 10 prospects, they would turn them into a customer. Now, here's the thing, though, is if we think about it from the forest analogy, then most companies try to do the spray and pray. Most salespeople, most marketers spray and pray. And so when I hand, what they're getting is 10 animals. That's what they're getting. They're going to get 10 animals from their marketing and sales efforts. All right. Now, out of those 10 animals, it's a combination again of rabbit, ducks, deers, snakes, and some moose. Right. Well, your closing rate is not going to be, your closing rate is going to be impacted by the fact that a certain number of those animals are disqualified because they're not your moves. They don't fit.
That's a great point. So your closing rate isn't really an accurate closing rate.
So our marketing and in marketing, like we say, we got to go to the forest where the moose are more prevalent, right? Because what I want is not just the ideal situation is I don't want 10 animals. I want 10 moose.
Right.
I know I'm not going to close all the moose, but my closing rate is going to go way up because I have already set it up. And we teach that also in our marketing diamond, where the number one thing is I have to identify who your moose is. Be very, very clear. The second thing is message. What is that bait that is going to attract them to come to you and say, yep, they raise their hand. They say, yeah, I want to talk to you because you're talking my language. It sounds like you know what you're talking about. I want to talk to you. Okay. And so in order to do those things, in order to find that message, we have to find the forest. We have to ask ourselves, where do people hang out? Where do our moose hang out? And do they hang out online? Do they hang out at a trade show? Do they hang out where do they hang out? That's where we're going to go. We're going to go hang out. Like the question of like, I'll use the trade show. I made a trade show as an example, is that, there are a lot of companies out there that are saying, oh, you don't want to go to trade shows. Like, they're so expensive. They're just really so expensive. But you know what? If I know my moose are at the trade show, I'm going to the trade show.
Right. Because it'll be a very good investment.
It'll end up being a very, very good investment. And I hope like heck that my competitors listen to these idiot digital marketing agencies who say, oh no, don't go to the trade shows, take all that money and put it into digital stuff. It's like, come on, and I hope you do that. All right. I really do, because when you do that, it just makes my job that much easier. So, all right. But so you see, that's why we want you to hunt moose. That's why it's so important. And is to know who your moose is, know the message that you need to have with them, the media, the tools that you use. That's the forest. Whether you use online, whether you use offline. In fact, in the B2B world, we have found that the combination of online and offline is the best way to go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Even with direct mail, even involving sales calls, things like that. And our clients over the years now of us pushing on this, they speak the language of moose.
They really do. It's become so second nature to them.
Yep. That becomes totally second nature. So that's the moose, folks.
That is the moose.
Focus on the moose. What have we not talked about when it comes to the moose?
Well, one thing that we've not talked about, I'll just say briefly, a couple of things.
All right.
When some people struggle with, well, who are my moose? Who is my moose? One way to figure that out is to look at your very best clients. Who do you have the most fun working with? I mean, Steve, you've always had rules for our business.
Right.
Who do you make the most money from, and who do you serve the best? And then study your current, customers, very best customers, to determine how can I find more of them. And then the other thing that when you talk about how to reach them, when you do really have a really good, I shouldn't say perfect, a clear idea of who your moose is, you can spend more time, money, and resources to reach them. Like, in Steve's book and my book, we talk about a shock and awe package, something that if you can't get through to a prospect, you do this and you will get their attention. So, you can't afford to spend that kind of time, money, and energy on a whole bunch of the wrong animals. But when you take the time to dial in on the moose, the person who could, or company that can become a really good and profitable customer, then you can really knock it out of the park with getting their attention and developing the first steps in that relationship. Yep,
that's exactly right. And I don't want to stretch this out too long today, but I think in a future conversation, one of the other things that we talk about is how much money are you willing to spend to get a customer?
You've always had that concept, or, I don't know the right way to say it, but yeah, that is such a meaningful concept, because if you're willing to spend the money to get a customer, and when you think of them, I think you're going to talk about in that future episode of looking at their value, not just now, but into the future.
Long-term,
pretty mind-boggling.
Long-term value, right? Yeah. And, I have a great story behind that of how I actually really learned that the smart way. But I'm going to tease you with this. See, a lot of people, when they think about their marketing budgets and things like that, they're thinking in terms of, how do we keep our marketing budget down as low as possible? But the way I look at it is I'm going to say that most of the people that are watching this are selling fairly expensive products or services, fairly expensive. And if I were to charge you $5,000 for every moose that I brought to you, and if you were able to close 50%. So think about this, like if I brought you 10 moose and I charged you $5,000 each for them, let's say that's $50,000, all right? And you think about the long-term value of the moose, how many moose would you like me to bring you at $5,000? Just think about that. Think about that. See, as compared to trying to keep your costs as low as possible for finding leads. But I'm going to cut it off right. I'm going to cut it off here, and to say that, well, we'll come back for a future conversation.
Well, thanks for having me back, because we were out of Mayo, so we were out of Dave Mayo Loomis. So
he's
here
somewhere
I
in
am.
Florida. He's in Florida somewhere.
He's having fun, but you and I it's a Saturday actually, so we're going to go have some fun ourselves.
We're going to go have some fun now ourselves. So all right, Smoking Hot Wife.
All right, Hunky Hubby.
Miller, better known as Muffler Mama.
Yeah, there you go. Kelly's dad.
Make sure you buy her book. For that matter, buy both
Stealing Genius. Show Stealing Genius.
Right there. Stealing. Whoops.
I'll tell you, if you want innovative, cool ideas.
Yep.
It'll knock your socks off. Whether or not you're wearing them.
Whether you're wearing socks or never mind. Anyway, Okay.
Thank you for listening and watching. Go out there and get them and be uncopyable.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast, the source for B2B marketing and sales insight. If you enjoyed the podcast, please be sure to subscribe and leave these old guys a 5-star rating. Check the show notes for any links and contact information. You can always contact us by going to b2bmarketingsalespodcast.com. Thank you, and keep on marketing, keep on selling.